Minecraft lighting, but they're so classic that there's really no room for creativity here. Though thanks to invisible glowing item frames, we can use map art to make our very own custom designs. And as this user shows off, that opens up a lot of possibilities. So if you're tired of having the same decorations as everyone else, this should help to set you apart come next Halloween. Number 2. While Minecraft has its fair share of foodstuffs, the cake is the only one that we can place as a decoration. So for the rest of them, we'll need to get innovative, such as this pork roast made from a stripped birch log. And while it's probably too crispy to make a meal out of it, I think it sells the illusion pretty well. And for a campsite build, that might be all you need. Just for your sake, don't actually use a fire underneath it. Number 3. Windows can really help to flesh out a build. But what if the standard glass windows don't fit your aesthetic? Well, then these trapdoors might be the better solution. By mixing the orientations, we can essentially open and close our shutters depending on what we want. And if you ask me, that's a neat bit of detail. Just make sure no hooligans come by and flip them out of place. That might just ruin the image. Number 4. Farms are a staple of Minecraft design, especially in survival. But while we're all used to the fields of wheat, carrots, and beetroots, this might be a stranger sight. Though, sure enough, we can take after this user and add in turtle shell helmets for something of a cabbage plant in your farmland. Just make sure you have the armor stands placed on a daylight sensor down below. Otherwise, they won't have enough height to peek through. Number 5. There are plenty of videos out there that'll tell you how to make a working TV in Minecraft, but how about a broken one? Or more accurately, one with technical difficulties. Well, thanks to the addition of glow ink sacks, we can dye the ink on a sign to make a proper looking television set. So while it's not as fun to watch as Mumbo's design, it's a lot easier for my tiny brain to recreate. Number 6. Ever since they were added back in 1.14, barrels have offered a chunk of options for how we build, but it turns out that on Bedrock, we can do even more. See, as this post lays out, we can use a mix of pistons and observers to earn ourselves a permanently open barrel, and that means a whole new texture to use in our builds. So if you don't have a debug stick, this might be your next best pick. Number 7. With a 1.13 update Aquatic, swimming in Minecraft got a lot more enjoyable, so it's only fair that we match that fun that we have over here with a couple of these pool floaties. See, as this user showcased, all we need is a handful of waterlogged trapdoors and some carpet to make our very own pool inflatables for lounging around. And hey, for even more detail, why not use snow layers instead of white carpet to let us add in a headrest to the end? Number 8. When you're decorating your house, then a couple of plants can really liven it up. Though while others settle for a standard sapling in the flower pot, we can get a bit more creative. And sure enough, by using a bamboo stem and a glowberry bush, we can make a cute tree to show off on your shelf. And since the glowberries can extend off the roof, this plant could really be about as tall as you like. Number 9. Having a furnace is a necessary evil for your survival base. But just because we need to have one doesn't mean we need to be boring about how we place it. And that's why something like this fireplace is the perfect solution. That way the block isn't left out in the open, but we can still right-click the floor and use it just the same. And in my book, that's a welcome mix of form and function. Number 10. If you've ever made glazed terracotta, then you're well familiar with the different designs these blocks can have. But did you know that they can blend together? Well, sure enough, something like this Reddit user's pattern brings together a number of the different colors into something of an expanding ring pattern. And I, for one, think that's a very cool sight. So while it'll take some time to orient them all the right way around, at least it's a project that'll pay off. Number 11. For the building community, the addition of candles in the Caves and Cliffs update was a big deal. And while they're useful as a light source, their unlit form can also function as a decoration, like so, where we use the candles as a stem for our plants and bushes, or even as a flower on top of cactus blocks. Just before you place them, remember to use a solid block first, and then you can swap it out for the leaves. Number 12. When you think of a diamond sword, the last thing to come to mind is decoration, but it turns out that might be our mistake, since with the help of invisible armor stands posed like so, we can make some really beautiful designs, including these enchanted angel wings like so. Or use netherite ones and you can get something a bit more sinister. And whatever you choose, this just goes to show that even a weapon can be a thing of beauty. Number 13. With each new update, Mojang gives us in the building community something to play around with. And for the wild update, that's currently the addition of Skulk. And since the Skulk veins function like vines, we can completely reimagine our existing textures. For instance, we can take after this user and make our own blue variant of the standard magma block. And really, this just gets me excited for when 1.19 properly releases and we get to experiment even more. Number 14. Keeping your base safe is an important problem to consider, but doing it in style is just as important. So while we could just shoot arrows off the top of our guard tower like so, wouldn't it make more sense to add in stairs like this and then create a functional matriculation, letting us upkeep both the aesthetics and the safety of our kingdom? And hey, it'll keep the spiders from climbing up the wall as well, which is a definite nice thing to have. Number 15. Flowers offer a cute way to add a splash of color to your build, but by this point, everyone's seen the standard offerings. So to get a bit more unique, the new Spore Blossom might be my new favorite. See, by placing down one of these in an invisible item frame, we can shrink down the size and attach these to both our floors and our walls, giving us a new plant to play around with and a fun detail for those lush caves. Number 16. Fish tanks make a great conversation starter to have in your base, but not everyone could justify building one that big. So if you're looking for more of a fishbowl than a fish tank, then this might be the trick. See, if you rest a minecart on top of a waterlogged set of sea pickles, then any fish inside will stay hydrated, giving us a much smaller footprint and a new roommate for the house. Number 17. It's a long-held fact in architecture that water features can really add to the atmosphere. I mean, after all, that's why they're called water features. But adding those into Minecraft isn't as fun when just one water source block is a cubic meter in size. So to have something smaller scale, then it turns out that waterlogged stairs are the solution. And with these, we can get an amount of water more appropriate for any canals, creeks, or streams that you plan on building. Number 18. Lush caves are one of the more beautiful additions to Minecraft in recent years. But as it turns out, a good thing can get better. Because while all this green is a welcome change from the walls of stone nearby, all it takes is a couple of giant mushrooms to make this site even prettier to see. And hey, mushrooms love the dark anyway, so it makes logical sense too. And for my money, that's a win on all fronts. Number 19. How you light up a build can play a big part into its atmosphere. And while torches are functional, they're not exactly the most dramatic. Far from it. So if you want to fix that, these extra tall candles are a solid solution. And whether you do this with a white candle on top of an end rod or a green one on top of a potted bamboo, the results of either should be a welcome improvement. Number 20. I'm gonna go out on a limb and venture that most of us have a bed in the house. And while that's the case, it's easy for everything to feel samey. So to add a little variation to where you snooze, these might be the perfect stand-in. As such, we can have our armor stands helmets poke through and function as pillows for the bed. And with dyed leather helmets, you can even mix and match as you please. Number 21. Building a custom tree instead of a bone meal one is a quick way to improve your build. But when it comes to adding branches on that tree, it's a bit tougher. So when the standard logs are a bit too big to use, then fences might be the next best solution. Mixing in these as well as a combination of stairs and slabs can add a ton of detail and keep your scale on the smaller side. Number 22. The addition of glowing item frames was a huge revamp to how we display our items, and the ability to make these item frames invisible is even more useful, letting us do something like this where we turn our colorful concrete items into glow-in-the-dark blocks to place on your wall. And that can let us make anything from signage to guide you in the night, or a terrifying set of eyes to haunt you from the dark. Number 23. Particles can do a lot for the atmosphere of your build, but without the help of commands and survival, they're not very easy to use. Though with help from the crying obsidian block, that might just be changed. See, by putting these in your roof, they can fall through the trapdoors and add some extra magic to your enchanting room, which is a neat effect for sure. So if you've already got yourself a respawn anchor, this is well worth a shot. Number 24. Sometimes the blocks you least expect it can work out the best, and that's definitely the case with this castle gate. Now, never in a million years would I have thought to use lecterns in this way, but after seeing this post, I'm well inclined to believe it's the right choice. So if you accidentally crafted more lecterns than you actually need, this is a welcome use for them. And honestly, I think it looks even better than their intended purpose anyway. Number 25. When building in Minecraft, it's important to stick to your block palette, but above that, it's even more impressive to incorporate different gradients. And as you can see from this example, it can also add a bit of fun to the detail. So if you're looking for a themed way to house your bee farm, then maybe this honey to jungle plank transition is just what your beehives need. I mean, it certainly looks the part. Number 26. Minecraft has plenty of mini games to see, but a lot of those are only possible with command blocks and special plugins. So for something better suited for survival, these item frames are a solid pick, since all it takes is a grid like so, and the right set of items to make our very own functional chessboard. And while it doesn't look quite like the Queen's Gambit, I do think there's enough here to practice the principles. Number 27. Now, I'll be honest, I never figured anvils to be much good for decorating, and that's why I'd usually build one of these systems to hide the anvil when I'm done. But when we start using these for a floor pattern, then it's a different story. So while we probably need a decent iron farmer to pull this off, it is cool to know that with their different hitboxes, these blocks can let us build something special. Number 28. When it comes to storing your stuff, a chest minecart maybe isn't your first pick, but that might be our mistake, since when we stack them like so, we can turn these roller coaster rejects into proper working drawers. And frankly, I think that's a nice change of pace. So while these can't store as much as the double chests that we're used to, they do offer a storage solution that shows a bit more effort than just a standard barrel. Number 29. Have you ever thought about eating redstone? No, me neither. But after seeing it like this, I'm starting to reconsider. See, since vines have a see-through texture, we can mix the texture of the block behind to fashion a proper looking berry vine for our base. And hey, add in some sweet berry bushes by the base and it's even hard to tell the difference. letting us create some new plants and keep consistent with the ones that we already have. Number 30. A boat is a good asset to keep on hand, but if you're going to stash in a chest, then maybe try this instead. Taken after this user, all it takes is a trapdoor and a chain to make a convincing crane for your shipyard. And then, if you want to go for a ride, simply hop in the boat and row it offshore, which will be a lot more interesting than grabbing it out of a barrel. Trust me. Number 31. When it comes to showing off your stuff, these item frames are the best that we've got. Though if you go through the effort to make a handwritten novel, then something tells me that this doesn't do it justice. So instead, why not fashion something out of a display case like so? Building this is super cheap, only asking for a lectern and a dyed piece of glass. But with that, we can have ourselves a way to show off your manifesto at its besto. And with that, folks, have a good one. All right.